Hi guys, SJ here. Just doing a little maintenance on the bike and noticed that my chain was a little loose. So I'm going to show you guys how I tighten my chain on the Ninja 650. First thing I do is come down here. Now as you can see, hopefully it's coming up, there's little marks here, you know, to help you adjust the chain, and I use them for reference, but to do tiny little adjustments, what I like to do is the nut here, you have your jam nut and then this back nut right there. Take a magic marker and just mark on the back nut right there, and same thing on the other side, just on the flat spot on the top, just mark it right there. And part of the reason why I do this is so that both of these black marks end up in the same spot when I'm done tightening the chain. Then what you want to do is you want to loosen the jam nut. And you do that by holding on to the adjusting nut, wrench on, and slowly undo. And then you do the same thing for the other side. Alright, next I have to loosen the axle bolt. On this side is the bolt right there, and on this side you pop this off, and there's a cotter pin right here that I got to take off, and just loosen it enough so that you can adjust and pull back with the adjusting nut back here. Before loosening the axle bolt, mark on the nut side on the flat spot on the top, and mark on the bolt side on the flat spot on the top, just so you know how far you have loosened it. As you can see, I held this side and I did not loosen this. I loosened the nut on this side, and I loosened it 3 flats, meaning 3 flat tops at the top. I think that'll be good enough. I wouldn't loosen it any further past this point. So now I'm going to take the 14mm wrench, and I'm going to tighten 1 flat spot. And there's 1 flat spot. Then I'm going to come over here on this side and do the same and tighten 1 flat spot. You're going to go, I'm going to go back and forth between this side and the other side, you know, and slowly, flat by flat on the adjusting nut until I get the chain tension that I want. Now for me, I don't like a tight chain. Bad things can happen, so I tend to err on the looser side of the spec for the chain tension. Now I have the chain tension where I want it, and I double checked on both of the adjustable nuts to make sure the black spot was in the same spot, so that I know that everything's where it needs to be. Now you don't want to tighten it too much. You over tighten this, you're going to have big, and I mean big, problems. So again, error on the side of, you know, being a little loose than spec. You'll thank me later for it, trust me. Don't over tighten this, because it's a world of problems. Trust me, it is. So now I got that, so now I'm going to excuse me. So now I'm going to retighten the axle bolt and nut, and then I'm going to tighten up the jam nuts, and then she'll be good to go. And I tightened up the axle nut that I loosened, and I got out the torque wrench, and wouldn't you know it, I torqued it, and my black spot that I put on there in the beginning before undoing this axle nut went right back to the same spot. Way to go, Kawasaki. Alright, just a little tip here, guys. Because this has a cotter pin, This is a cotter pin. My R3 does not have one, but Kawasaki did put one on here for the axle nut. And you want to make sure you see these little grooves. I'm going to use a cotter pin right here. These little grooves are here. Line up with this hole for the cotter pin. And then this is the old cotter pin. I'm going to use a new one. You never use the same cotter pin because, as you can see, it's all bent up, and you always want to use one. In emergency, maybe you can get away with this, but always put a new cotter pin in. Anyway, you want to drop them down from the top so that the head is up. This way, if the bottom breaks as it goes through, not a big deal because Kawasaki supplies you with this cover and you can cover it over. But always new cotter pin and drop it from the top like this, never from the bottom. Okay. All right, now I have the new cotter pin in. This is the old cotter pin. And this is the correct installation. You want to make sure that the head is right where it is, which stops the nut from moving. You do not want to put it in this way. You want it that way. Anyway, you bend it up in the front ways like this, and then you take the snips, and you snip the back part. So the larger part, you're going to pull up. Smaller part, you're going to clip off. And then once that's done, you take this lovely little thing and you stick it right over. Okay, now that I have tightened the jam nut, and a little tip here. When tightening the jam nut, do not move the adjust nut. Hold it perfectly still while tightening the jam nut. Because you move that, yep, you just screwed everything up. But anyway, this is how I tighten my chain on my 2017 Ninja 650. And yeah, so now all I gotta do is clean up my mess here and take her for a ride. Well guys, I told you I was doing maintenance, so another quick little thing that I'm doing that you might want to do. I dropped the oil out of my bike. No, I am not changing the filter. Let the comments begin. It doesn't need to be changed this time. I'll change it next time. So all of you, don't worry about it. You don't need to freak out. It's fine. But what I am doing is I am replacing my oil plug. And it's with a magnetic oil plug. So it gets the metallic metals, the little tiny fine particles, excuse me, can't talk today, that will stick to the magnet. So I am replacing the OEM with one of these. Something else real quick I wanted to touch on. Whenever you're doing maintenance on your bike, whether it's tightening the chain, doing an oil change, go around and check all your fairing bolts around and other bolts on the bike, and just make sure they're tight, because over time when you ride, they will loosen up, and the last thing you want is going down the road and something flying off. So just another little tip too. Alright guys, anyway, I am going to dump my oil, put new oil in my bike, put my new oil plug in, and then I'm going to take my bike for a ride. So now that I've done everything, chain is tightened, oil is out, new oil's going in, all my fairing bolts are tightened, I'm good to go. So I'll see you guys next time.